The city never slept, but Elena always felt invisible in the endless stream of rushing people, flashing lights, and honking cars. She was 22, quiet, and reserved, with no family to lean on and only a tiny rented room above a bakery where she worked part-time. Life for her was simple, almost too ordinary, until the night she crossed paths with Alexander Knight, the ruthless CEO who ruled over the city like a king. It all began on a rainy evening. Elena had just finished her shift, her uniform damp and her shoes squeaking as she hurried down the slippery streets. She pressed her umbrella tightly against the wind, praying it wouldn't snap. Then, suddenly, the screech of tires tore through the storm. A black luxury car came to a halt inches away from her, splashing water across her legs. The tinted window rolled down, and she saw him for the first time. "Watch where you're going," he said, his voice deep, commanding. Elena's cheeks burned with humiliation, but instead of apologizing, she lifted her chin. "You should watch where you're driving," she replied boldly. No one ever spoke back to Alexander Knight. He was known for being cold, untouchable, and feared in both business and society. But something about the fire in her innocent eyes made him pause. For the first time in years, he felt a spark of curiosity. "Get in," he ordered. She shook her head. "I'm not getting in a stranger's car." Her defiance amused him. Most people bent under his gaze, desperate to please, but she stood firm, trembling slightly yet refusing to yield. Alexander gave a rare smirk, rolled up his window, and drove off. Elena thought that was the end of it. She didn't know that her small act of bravery had marked her in his mind. Days later, she saw him again, this time at the bakery. He walked in, tall and striking in his tailored suit, with an aura that made the room fall silent. The owner rushed to serve him, but his eyes found Elena instantly. "You," he said, pointing at her. "Serve me." Her hands shook as she poured his coffee, aware of how intensely he watched her. "Why are you here?" she whispered, confused. "Because I don't like loose ends," he answered cryptically. From then on, Alexander kept appearing in her world. At first, Elena tried to avoid him. She didn't belong in his world of glass towers and boardrooms, of private jets and diamond chandeliers. She was ordinary, and he was extraordinary in a way that frightened her. Yet every time he looked at her, she felt seen, truly seen, for the first time in her life. One evening, he offered her a ride home. When she refused again, he leaned close, his breath brushing her ear. "Don't mistake my patience for weakness. I always get what I want." And he wanted her. Elena's innocence fascinated him, but it wasn't her purity alone, it was her strength. She had survived loneliness, poverty, and abandonment, yet her heart had not turned bitter. She still smiled, still believed in kindness, and he was drawn to that light. For years, Alexander had built walls around himself, burying pain and betrayal beneath layers of control and power. But Elena's presence began to crack those walls. He claimed her, not with chains, but with his unyielding attention. Flowers appeared at her door. Drivers waited outside the bakery to take her home. Security followed her to ensure she was safe. At first, she resisted, angry at his intrusion, but soon she realized that behind his controlling ways was a man terrified of losing her. When he finally confessed, it wasn't romantic. It was raw. "You belong to me, Elena," he said, gripping her wrist, his eyes dark with desperation. "I don't care how innocent you are, how scared you feel. I will protect you, and I will make you mine." Her heart raced, torn between fear and an undeniable pull. "Why me?" she whispered. "Because you remind me of the man I could have been," he admitted, voice breaking. "And because you're the only woman who makes me want to be better." From that night forward, Elena's life changed. Alexander introduced her to a world she never imagined: charity galas, private islands, rooms filled with powerful people who whispered behind their glasses about the young woman at the CEO's side. They thought she was fragile, someone he would discard like the others. But Elena was different. She learned quickly. She listened during his meetings, asked questions, and offered insights that surprised even him. When board members tried to belittle her, she stood her ground with quiet grace. Soon, Alexander wasn't just claiming her, he was relying on her. It wasn't an easy journey. They fought often. Elena hated his arrogance, his tendency to control every detail of her life. He hated her stubbornness, her refusal to obey blindly. But with each battle, they grew closer, reshaping each other. She softened his harsh edges, teaching him compassion. He pushed her out of her comfort zone, forcing her to see her own strength. One night, at a charity event, Elena overheard a woman mocking her. "She's nothing but a virgin girl he picked up off the streets. She won't last." Instead of shrinking back, Elena raised her glass and met the woman's eyes. "You're wrong. I may have started as nothing, but now I stand beside him, not behind him. And I'll last as long as I choose." Alexander heard her, pride swelling in his chest. That was the moment he knew she wasn't just his innocent girl anymore. She had become powerful, not because he made her so, but because she discovered it within herself. Their love was fierce, imperfect, and often tested. But in the end, Elena transformed from a shy girl working in a bakery into a woman who could walk into any room with confidence, knowing she had earned her place. And Alexander, once a cold, ruthless CEO, found peace in her warmth. He had claimed her, yes. But in the end, it was Elena who had claimed his heart, and turned him into a man worthy of her love.